All right. How is my no more people pleasing fam doing today? All right, all right. We've got some interesting things to talk about today. I'm always trying to make sure that we're bringing relevant content. And I just want to know if we have any over explainers out in the audience today. All right. Do we have some people out there that we find ourselves many times over explaining ourselves to others? We just for some reason there's something in us to when it comes time to make a decision, uh when we make certain statements about things. It could be anything, but we find ourselves explaining ourselves too much. If we have some over explainers, just say yes, that's me. I find myself over explaining myself to other people, and I want it to stop now. I want it to stop now. And so we're going to talk about how to get you out of that, to get you to the point to where you can say something, mean something, and then that's it. And we're going to talk a little bit about what brings us to the point of where we feel like that is necessary to to explain ourselves to others. Why can't we just stop? Why can't we just make a statement and let it be? All right. And so we want to talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to go on and press record here just in case some reason we start losing stuff again with this live stream. All right, so there are some important things that we need to know about, because many times as people pleasers, um, we want to be connected with others. Many times we don't often feel as confident about ourselves and about the things that we express to others. And so there are a number of reasons why. And I want you to just think about it right now. Like, why do you think that so many times you are overly explaining yourself? Excuse me if my sentence structure is broken, but why do you think that you find yourself explaining things to others that when you know that you should just stop? I should probably just I don't need to be doing this. Why am I explaining? And sometimes we feel icky walking away from the situation, because we're feeling like, man, I said too much. I said too much. And so what do we have to do to become confident about what we have to say, to stand by what we believe and not have to repeat this cycle? And so we're going to just jump right into it right now and try to support you. And we've got some meaty stuff. We got some meaty items that I think are going to be helpful. So, one of the things that we want to do right off the bat is that I think that it's important to evaluate, and I talk about this a lot. You've got to pay attention to your environment. Evaluate how committed the people are in your circle to understanding you. How committed the people that you're talking to right now. Take a moment. I want you to take a quick moment and think about at least three people who you find yourself explaining things to more than what you would like to, more than what you feel comfortable with. And I want you to think about something like, what type of people are these people? Often we find that these are the same people that are often our critics. It's almost like I can't say anything or come up with any idea that's good enough for you without you chopping it down or asking me a whole bunch of questions, talking me out of the situation, making me feel like I'm stupid for even having this idea. So with these type of people, not saying that you can't love them and love on them, and not saying that they just it's their intentions in life to just bring you down. We're just talking about the factual situations, the things that's going on. We don't want to get into characterizing others. This is about you, right? This is about you. So the people that are in your circle that are close to you, do you believe that, or have you evaluated? their commitment to really understanding you. And if not, this may be problematic. So there's a quote that says, we need to stop explaining ourselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding us. It no longer am I sold to it being my mission to try to get you to understand my perspective, understand where I'm coming from, empathize with my pain and my struggle and my need to make certain decisions that are good for me. A lot of us are stuck in places where we don't feel comfortable with making decisions that are good for us. And so we're not happy. And this is the point to where we often lose identity within ourselves because we're so captivated and so preoccupied with having people to understand or like us. At some point, we have to come to the reality that not everybody is going to understand me. So we need to stop explaining ourselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding us. And again, they don't have to be bad intentions. It's just that, you know what? No matter what I do, I can't ever seem to get you to understand me. So stop trying to. Stop trying to, right? Just take that off the table for a while, right? And so who are the people many times that are most prone to being in situations where they feel like that they have to explain or have to do the people pleasing? So a lot of times, if you are a child and you were raised in an environment where it just seemed that one of your caregivers just didn't trust and believe you, that you were accused of things that you just didn't do. You always had, it just seemed like you were always like in a fight to try to prove who you was, prove your character, prove your intentions, and prove that you didn't have bad motives. Wow. Is that you? So if that's you, you may find yourself in situations as an adult where you are overly explaining things to people to try to convince them the same because somewhere because of the hurt and the experience that you encountered, you develop a belief of, well, a disbelief in self, a doubt, um a need to, because see, the only reason why, and I hope I'm not skipping ahead, but the only reason why we many times have to feel we have to explain things to other people, if you thought about that, why do I have to do that? The true reason, what's at the core of it, is that we're not convinced ourselves. You know, when we're convinced ourselves, then we don't have to explain stuff to other people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, someone who was accused of stuff, you often found yourself as a child being misunderstood by your family, by your loved ones, by your caregivers. People just didn't seem to get you. They were always off, and you just couldn't get them to get. It's like they had a preconceived understanding about who you were, and you knew that this did not represent you. Okay, so you might find yourself in this situation. Of course, if you have been in an environment of manipulators or narcissistic people, narcissistic parents, people or let's just say manipulative parents who seem to always have their agenda first when it came to your career, when it came to sports, when it came to who you dated. You were in the environment of controllers. You know, we're talking about a difference between authoritative parenting versus authoritarian, which is like absolute rule. So you might find yourself, and you just had a dire need for acceptance. You struggled with this. And so this is the reason why, as an adult, you still find yourself in situations where you're trying to prove. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So there's some people in your life who are set on their own outcomes. So they're not trying to be bad people. It's just that they have their own ideas as far as how they want things to happen, and it doesn't involve understanding you. All right. It doesn't involve, they don't have the capacity to take the time to empathize and understand you. If you think about it, they were never built that way. But just because their mechanism or their makeup was not that of someone who is understanding doesn't mean that you have to continue to be in places to where in situations to where you're feeling misunderstood and people aren't accepting what you say that is important to you. All right. So there are some people in your life that you'll never be good enough for, unfortunately, in their eyes. So stop explaining stuff to them. No matter what, you're not going to be good enough. I remember going through insecurity phase in my life. I remember um, you know, because this is the thing what happens with insecurity when you are insecure, you many times find a need to find a way to compensate, so some way you've got to find a superpower, you've got to find something that you're good at, and this is what we do in relationships, and what we're doing many times in relationships is trying to size up to people who we're in relationship with that we have an ultimate respect for, and in a sense want to be somewhat like them, right? And so I was in a situation where at that time, because of insecurity, uh, what I brought to the table financially was important to me, and it was important that I felt good about that. And so the group that I was hanging out with is they were very superficial, and so there would often be conversation about what people were making, and just the stuff that everybody like. Why are we talking about this? But we want to be accepted. So anyway, long story short, I found myself at one time trying to explain to an individual who was in the group, somewhat of the leader of the group, uh, trying to really, you know, uh, explain that my financial situation is all right. And I went through all these different things, and this is a need to be accepted. Like this stuff kind of upsets me sometimes that like this is what you were doing. You feel what I'm saying? But that's where you be at a certain point to where it just upsets you because but you can talk about it because that was the old you. And then you can help people because it was the old you. Shallow, superficial, not recognizing what's going on inside and what you have to offer, and that you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And I thank God that this happened to me before I start making money. Okay. But at that point, I'm just trying to prove based on something. I wasn't even doing, as well as I'm doing now. Because the reason why I'm happy about that is because now that things are different, I don't have to go out broadcasting it because it doesn't matter. I don't care if they think that I'm in the same place that I was or whatever. It doesn't matter because you build up that reassurance in yourself to where you don't feel like you have to prove, and explaining things to people is a tactic of trying to prove things about self. And some of you all are doing this trying to prove. Stop trying to prove people. Don't stop trying to get validation from people who aren't interested in validating you. And so after all this whole thing I come up with, the person says, wow, you really thought that out, didn't you? So somewhere, I guess in my mind, I thought that they would validate me and that I would be more accepted. And it was at that moment when I recognized I will never explain myself to anybody about anything like this or whatever, because I realized that the person wasn't interested in me being somewhat of an equal. And that's the thing, is that a lot of times the people that you're talking to, they're not going to ever see you as being an equal. They don't have it because that takes away their supply. That makes them feel inferior themselves. So they need to lord over you and to make you feel a certain level of insecurity. And it's funny how the tide changes because these same people, once you become secure, now they're coming asking you stupid questions like, man, so who do y'all hang out with now? And stuff like, why are you worried about what I'm doing? It's funny, man, that thing shifts. It is like we hang out with a lot of people. Like, and the thing is that I'm not explaining to you. You just be fascinated. Just know that we're not trying to hang out with you anymore. Okay, because we've moved past that, right? And we've had a number of people like that to where, and that's what you'll see, because really they were fascinated in you to begin with, but to the point that they wanted to keep you subdued. And so once you no longer need them anymore, they can't necessarily understand how are you having such a good life without them. And they want to know more about that. That I ain't gonna lie, it feels kind of good. But you want to keep it Christian. You don't want to you know what I'm saying, embellish in that too much. Because they're hurt people. They're hurt people. That's why they're out there trying to prove to you now. They're trying to understand. Anyway, so let's move past that. So um, you really so he said, you really thought that let's get past that. So one important thing is to recognize why you made the decision that you made. So whatever it is that you find yourself explaining yourself about, before when you make that decision, understand why you made the decision. This is very important in the early process when you're trying to, or when you're establishing security within yourself. Okay, it's important to understand why you are making decisions, because if you don't, you'll be easily talked out of it. I got another situation with that. So let me mention this. The decisions that you make in life are not for other people, so don't expect them to understand. The decisions that you make in life are for you. They're not for other people, so don't expect them to understand. It doesn't mean that sometimes when it's a safe person that's not my critic, that I don't, offer some level of insight. But when you'll get that feeling, and I don't know if some of y'all got that feeling when you feel like, man, I feel like I'm explaining myself too much. Okay, then that's when you need to stop. I got another example, and this happened just a few years ago. Because sometimes you have people that are kind of like, in a sense, not happy for you or somewhat haters. And so I had bought a truck, and the person said, uh, why did you buy another truck? Why did I buy another truck? And the way that they said it, it wasn't like that they were real happy for me. They saw the new truck, it was a new truck, and they saw it, and it's like, why did you buy a new truck? Why did you buy a Because the other truck that I had was very used. It was probably 10, 12 years older than the one that I just bought. So they were, and I responded because I wanted to. Because I wanted to. And I tried to be as nice and kind, because I knew that they weren't coming from a good place, and I wasn't gonna get myself in a situation, because we don't do that anymore, to where I'm explaining to you something that you're not really seeking to understand. There's something in you that, like, why? What kind of question is that? Like, why did you get another truck? Because I wanted to get another truck. Okay, and so the thing is that we don't want to be mad or upset, but we have to understand when people sometimes don't have our best interest, and it's hard for them to celebrate with us. And so, this is how you kind of want to respond to things in this manner. So calculate what you need to really explain, and realize that the more that you try to explain in certain situations, the more you'll be talked out of your convictions. All right, I want that to settle in. Okay. So the more, I got to wrap this up, the more that you many times try to explain things to other people, is the more that you'll be talked out of your convictions. And this is why I say to just understand why you're convicted of what you are convicted of, and let it sit and settle. It doesn't even have to make sense, but you got to stand on it, especially when you're coming against critics. Because sometimes once you have this idea about what, this change that you want to make. So let's use an example. Another thing I want you to do is, and because we got to move forward, we're almost at 20 minutes, is to respond. Many times it's important to respond to people with one liners, because like we said, the more that you try to explain to people, the more that many times you'll be talked out of your own convictions. You start thinking your own bright ideas are stupid ideas. Your own vision is not a good vision. Some of you are creators. Some of you all are should be on in a job to where you're in leadership. Okay. Some of you all should be in another career. Some of you all should be with another partner. Okay. Some of you all should be taking a more active role in your partnership or marriage. But because you have been reduced to think that what you have to say is not important, and that you don't have sound vision, you don't have a competence level that's on the level of those who you even married to, that you're in relationship with, that, so because we doubt ourselves, we kind of get pushed over. So the thing is, you got to stand in what you believe. And when you come up against the giant, sometimes you need to respond in different ways. So here's a scenario. You decide, I'm not going to spend the holiday with my extended family, meaning that mom and dad. This is where we go for Christmas or whatever, Thanksgiving. No, we've decided this year that we're just gonna have dinner at home with just it's just gonna be the husband and the kids, and we're gonna do it that way. But this has been tradition that everybody meets, but you've decided you want to start your own tradition, right? And so then you have that family member that comes up to you that has something to say. Okay. And here it goes. And so you've got to understand when they come at you. So they say, but mom is not going to like that. Uh, uh, Other people, mom's not gonna like that. People in the family not gonna like that. Like, who even does that? They're making it like, I mean, you spend time with, with family. This is what we do. So like, I don't really understand. You know what I'm saying? So what you have to learn is those one-liners. And you're saying this is what I wanted to do because it's the best decision for my family, or it's the best decision for me. That's where you start. This is just what I wanted to do because this is the best decision for. But you know what? The- the- I just, I don't understand that. I don't understand why you want to do that when we all come together. Mom and dad, they only have so much longer that they're going to be on this earth, but you're deciding that you want to spend Christmas with your family. And the thing is that you don't want to disagree. It's just easier a lot of times when you don't, because these are manipulators, narcissistic people. They're ready a lot of times to argue with you, and you just nod your head and say, "Yeah, I understand." But you know what? You gotta smile. You smile at them with that confidence and say, "You know what? But I see where you're coming from. But this is what I want to do because you know what? This is the best decision for me right now and for me and my family." Yeah. Yeah, and you start nodding your head like that, right? So this is what we do. Just because it isn't, this is something we need to know. Just because it isn't the best decision for you, it doesn't make it. Oh, just because this thing is the best decision for me or for you doesn't make it selfish. Okay? I want you to think about that. Just because this is a great decision for you, it doesn't make it selfish. Some of us have been programmed to believe that anything that's good for me that even may exclude you is being selfish. You can't bring everybody to the rodeo. You can't take everybody with you in places that you're going, because sometimes they're not mature, and sometimes this is something that needs to just be for me and my son, me and my daughter, for me and my husband, or everybody can't come along. And so sometimes there's been people that have been in your life that kind of insert themselves into your lives in ways that are not healthy. This a lot of times can be your parents. This can be a brother or a sister, that's just too much in the business. So the thing is, sometimes we have to say, you know what, I don't need you to understand my decision. W- I don't need you to understand my decision. Okay. But what I desire from you is that you respect it. But check this out. Whether you do or not, this is the best decision for me, and I'm going to continue, and I'm not going to continue to explain this to you. Okay? So I what I would desire for you to do is, I don't expect you to understand it, and that's understand I see your perspective where you basically not understanding me, but the thing is that I don't expect you to. But what I would appreciate, if you would respect the decisions that I'm making, respect the boundaries that I'm creating. But the thing is, if you don't understand it. I'm not going to keep explaining things to you. I've already stated that this is what's best for me right now. And sometimes, ooh, some of you all are not comfortable with that. This is what's best for me because it sounds selfish and you've been trained and groomed to think and feel that you're unworthy of having your needs met, even when you feel like you're about to lose your mind. Isn't that something? Some of you are out there, you're feeling like you're about to lose your mind right now, and you are not even the top priority because if you focus on yourself, you feel that that's being selfish. So, well, I'm going to end there. I want us to consider who we're environment in the environment with. We want to consider making sure that we have a firm position within ourselves for the decision that we make, so that we can stand on it. So that when we come up against people, you know what I'm saying, we may shoot out a one liner. We come against people, we don't have to feel like that we have to overly explain ourselves. We just say what we say and we stick with it. Okay. And then we want to be in a position to where we don't feel like that we have to hold back our feelings and emotions when in situations with people who we have been overly explaining things to. All right. So if you're having problems with overly explaining things to people, or you just don't feel confident about expressing your feelings, look, it may be the time to seek out a coach. We have a team of coaches that can help you to get in a position to where you can feel powerful, where you feel like that you can step up and make the decision, but not just do that, to better understand why you haven't been making these decisions. Okay, so that you can understand yourself, because sometimes we're pointing the finger at ourselves for bad decisions that we've made, for not being assertive. We have guilt and shame, and we're allowing others to guilt and shame us. But we want to help to remove you out of that cycle. And this is what we specialize in. So if you're interested in making that move to where you can feel confident in making those decisions that you need to and move out of the people pleasing cycle, just DM me, coach, and we'll jump on it and contact you. We're going to do this again next week. We hope to see you soon. And I hope this has been helpful. Y'all take care now. Bye bye.